What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for Sports. All right. So, one of the biggest problems in today's NBA, aside from the lack of defense, the bloated scores, and the merry-go-round three-point shooting, is the load management. More and more fans are tuning out of today's NBA because of load management. Now, a lot of people say, look, Greg Popovich started this thing, but at the very least, at least those guys were older. You know what I'm saying? At least most of those guys were older when Greg Popovich was doing that. And the NBA fined the hell out of those dudes, the organization for doing that. Kawhi Leonard is really the face of this, all right? Great player, but he's the face of it. He's already missed 354 games in his career. He's missed 28 games this year. Probably going to miss a few more before the season is over. It's not just him, though. It's become a league-wide trend, the experts say these players need rest. Rest will help them preserve their careers and to prevent injuries. When in reality, these guys get hurt more than ever before. Paul George told you, and told me, I guess, not just you, that, hey, I think it's hurting us that we're getting so much rest. We're getting too much rest. It's softening us. It's not a good thing. And I'm going to tell you another problem I think is going on, too. This is just a theory of mine. With the big man out of the picture, for the most part down low, the way everything is spread out to the perimeter, players of the past, the slashers, right, guys who drove the basket, they have become accustomed to being fouled by big men, right? So they learn how to land properly. Even though you can't always do it, you know what I'm saying? But they've learned instinctively how to land a certain way without getting hurt. But without that constant big man down there, and you learn how to plant yourself or land a certain type of way, when you drive to the basket and then you get fouled, which doesn't happen too often now, because everything's like a free fucking trip to the basket. A lot of these guys aren't prepared for that, and they land awkwardly and get hurt. So that's a theory I have as to why some of these guys get hurt. But yeah, load management is not working, and it's turning fans off, man. How would you feel if you have season tickets, and whenever you have a chance to go see your team play, every time someone's missing? Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. And I'm not talking about when they're hurt. That's something different, when they're suffering injury. But sometimes these dudes can actually go out there and play, but they'll say, you know what, we don't want you to play this second game, back-to-back. We'll let you play next time. That's not the mentality you guys had in the past. If you can go out there and walk, if you can run up and down the court, you could play. This picture is of Gerald Henderson, a basketball player that played from the late 70s, I believe, into the early 1990s. He's primarily remembered for his stint with the Boston Celtics. And I think his most memorable play came during the 1984 finals. Might have been Game 4 when he had a steal of an inbounds pass that was intended, I think, for James Worthy, if I remember certainly correctly. But in this picture right here, Gerald Henderson had a broken jaw. Now, you better believe no player today is going to play with a broken jaw. You're just not going to see it today. He's going to be out for 3 weeks, maybe a month. Gerald Henderson said, "The hell with that." Now, of course, these guys didn't make the money that these guys made today. And perhaps part of it was Gerald Henderson feared his job security. But he went out there and played. And he also said that he felt an obligation to play because the fans paid to see these guys perform. It used to be an obligation to go out there and play. These athletes felt a certain guilt about not giving the fans their money's worth. I'm pretty sure there were some fights down the stretch of Ali's career when he wasn't feeling good. Seriously, I'm pretty sure. I mean, because if you look at Ali, even though I know he wasn't diagnosed with Parkinson's until 84, you could clearly see signs that something was wrong as early as 1977. But he went out there and performed. You're not going to have too many boxers now stay in a fight where they suffered a broken jaw like Ali did against Ken Norton and fight all those rounds with a broken jaw, getting hit in the face, taking that type of pain and punishment. That's why I have a hard time putting the players today in the same category as these guys. It's just very difficult. Calvin Murphy once suffered a concussion and stayed in the game wearing a helmet. Now, look, we all know the problems that concussions can cause if you suffer them consistently. But that's what these players felt, man. They felt an obligation to go out there and play. And that's why these guys were so often beloved by fans. Because fans respect that. They respect someone who goes out there and work hard, goes out there and play balls to the wall, go out there and do everything they can to be there for their team. It's admirable. It's inspirational, to be honest with you. Willis Reed in 1970 did something that is almost impossible to do. He went out there and played with a torn thigh muscle. Torn thigh muscle. Now think about it. It's virtually impossible to play with a hamstring pull. He went out there and played with a torn thigh muscle because he didn't want to let his teammates down because they made it to the finals. They had a miracle run. If I'm not mistaken, I think going into the season, starting from 68, 69 to 69, 70, I think they had something like a 24-game win streak at one point. They were the best team in basketball. And here they were in Game 7. And Willis Reed apparently wasn't going to be available. But he said they injected something like fucking horse tranquilizers or something to numb his leg enough for him to go out there, make his first 2 shots, and Madison Square Garden went crazy. He psychologically destroyed the Lakers by even being out there. He didn't score another bucket, but it was enough to lift his teammates and the other 6-man, being the Knicks crowd, to the championship. You're not going to see guys do these types of things anymore. You're not going to see players go out there like Michael Jordan did. Whatever the problem was, whether he was drunk as a skunk, whether it was food poisoning, it wasn't the flu. Maybe it was a combination of both. Jordan was fucked up. That's all I know. He was fucked up, whatever the hell it was. Be it a hangover plus food poisoning, he was throwing up just up to 30 minutes before the game. That's why he was taking IVs. He was drinking Gatorade. He couldn't keep anything down. You could look in his eyes and tell he was fucked up. But he went out there and had one of the greatest performances in the history of the NBA. These guys aren't built like that today. But they want us to praise them and tell them how great they are. Now, a few of them I like. Anthony Edwards, he has the right mentality. Paul George says the right things, but it is what it is. But just to remember the days when these guys actually cared about the game and didn't forget the fans, because the fans are what built the league. From the 1940s when they were struggling to stay afloat, franchises folding left and right, the 1950s rule changes made the game closer to what it is today. Players were getting better, more skilled. The game started reaching, newer heights. In 1953, I think it was, the NBA signed its first TV contract with the now defunct DeMont Network. The 1960s, it reached another era, another level of popularity. In the 1970s, even though the NBA kind of lulled in popularity, it still was a strong league. It's competitive. The ABA influenced the NBA to sort of change some of its rules, make it a little bit less conservative as far as ball handling and dribbling, made it more fan-friendly. Slowly but surely, the game started becoming more above the rim. The 1980s, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson helped to reach the game to new heights. Dr. J had kept the league afloat. He was a star. The 90s, Michael Jordan reached it to all-time highs that we haven't seen since then. After Jordan, 2000 still was a great league with Kobe and Shaq and Garnett and Barkley and all those guys, and even to the LeBron era. But today, the NBA is in trouble, and they don't realize it, that they're losing fans. We keep screaming at them, we do not like what is going on, and they keep trying to force feed this stuff to us. They keep trying to force feed what's supposed to be best for us, and then they wonder why our ratings are sliding further and further and further. Because we beckon to days like this when these players played simply for the love of the game. Remember the motto in the 90s, I love this game? We really truly loved the game, but not anymore.